Yemen had long been, since ancient times, a united human, geographic, economic, and political entity. The ancient Yemeni state had comprised tribal groupings. It was not a mere grouping of descent, like a Bedouin tribe, but rather a much more advanced entirety, built around a population and an economy of productivity and taxation. Historic information proved that a large political entity did exist in Yemen at the outset of the 1st century before Christ. This entity had been known as Sheba or Saba, described by historian Bellini as the most famous of all Arab tribes. The Yemenis had begun their population settlements and urbanization well 3,000 years before the birth of Christ. During that ancient era, the Yemenis had enjoyed all basic fundamentals of a socio-economic livelihood. The prosperity enjoyed by ancient Yemenis was aided by Yemen's location, controlling vital trade routes, including that of the frankincense. In the ancient East, the Mediterranean, trade had also helped develop Yemen's relations with ancient trade states. Arms had reflected the Yemenis' ingenuity and technical skill in water control and disposition. Yemenis had also withstood the difficult and harsh terrain and landscape and had transformed the solid mountains into green terraces. Allah, the Almighty, says in verse 15 of Saba Surah, "There was for Saba aforetime a sign in their homeland, 2 gardens to the right and to the left. Eat of the sustenance provided by your Lord and be grateful to him. A territory fair and happy and the Lord." Marib had been the capital. Grandchildren that followed had answered to the call of Islam and had sent a delegation led by Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, received the Yemeni delegation in audience and said, "The people of the Yemen had come, soft-hearted. The faith is that of Yemen, and the wisdom is that of Yemen." Yemenis had long been a people of justice, fairness, goodness, peace, and equality. They had answered to and loved Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, and had carried the banner of Islam and spread it to the entire hinterland.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
Yemen had then become an Islamic state during the reign of Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, and the Islamic caliphates that followed. Sana'a had been the capital of the Yemeni Islamic State. Yemen had later been ruled by the Ottoman Turks, who were evacuated from Yemen twice for their negative influence and attempts to isolate Yemen from the rest of the Islamic states. And in 1839, the British had occupied Aden and had adopted a policy of eventual penetration into the entire hinterland under different pretexts, namely the creation of protectorates. World War I had come along, and the British and Turks were on two different fronts. The war ended, and the Turks had been defeated. Under the 1918 treaty, the Turks had withdrawn from areas adjacent to those under British control. The Imamites took over the reign of power, succeeding the Turks, while other portions of Yemen remained under English colonialism. The dreadful situation that had prevailed all across Yemen under these two rules, the Imamate and the British, had instigated Yemenis to expel the two regimes and work on reunifying the entire homeland and rule. As different uprisings had been quelled, more popular and powerful revolts had picked up momentum, culminated by the 1962 26th of September Great Revolution. And 1 year later, the 14th of October Revolution. Revolts had continued until complete British withdrawal was realized on the 30th of November, 1967. Despite such revolutionary victories, Yemeni unity had not then been achieved due to international conditions and conflicts over interests. The world had then been split into two blocks, East and West.